However, their size is no longer sufficient, which is why a large part of the ministries, as well as the Prime Minister's residence, are located outside of Central Vista. Therefore, the Indian government has decided to redevelop the entire area. Under the direction of Indian architect Bimal Patel, the architecture firm HCP designed what is supposed to be the future of Central Vista. The Parliament building is clearly too small for today's requirements of India's democracy, and it is in a structurally desolate state. Therefore, a completely new building will be created, right next to the old Parliament. While the old Parliament is circular, this new Parliament is in triangular shape. Nevertheless, it references many of the ideas present in the current Parliament's design. Today's Parliament building consists of 3 semicircles that face each other. They house the 2 chambers of Parliament as well as a library. In the middle, there is a common hall from which you can navigate to the different rooms. And in between these halls, there are various courtyards. The whole thing is surrounded by a circle that provides space for offices. In a very similar way, the new Parliament will also have office space facing outside. Inside, however, the space is used significantly more effectively by reducing the courtyard area. The 2 chambers of Parliament can therefore be built much larger in order to meet today's requirements. As already mentioned, the Secretariat buildings are not sufficient for all the different ministries, and many of the buildings that currently stretch along the Rajpath and house additional offices are in poor structural condition. These buildings will therefore be demolished to make way for a massive new central secretariat. This should unite all ministries of the Indian government in one place. These large buildings will each have a courtyard in the middle, which will serve as a meeting and relaxation space. In order to make commuting to work easier, the architects have planned underground electric people movers that stop at every office building. Furthermore, a central conference center is being built, in which larger events can be held. It will have various auditoriums, as well as a number of conference and seminar rooms. The National Archive building is also located along Rajpath. This currently comprises an old building by Lutens from the imperial period, as well as a newer building that was added later. As part of the current redevelopment, the old building is to be renovated, but otherwise retains its function, while the newer building will be demolished and replaced. Also currently located along Rajpath is the Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts, a major government-funded cultural institution in the country. The center will have to move, as the current buildings will be demolished to make way for the new Central Secretariat. A new building for the institute is to be built on the India Gate Circle. Another building that needs to make way for the new Central Secretariat is the National Museum. But since all ministries are now united in this Central Secretariat, the current Secretariat building loses its function. The plan is therefore to relocate the National Museum to these 2 much larger buildings. The new National Museum will then have 3 times as much space as it currently does. And architect Patel, who oversees the redevelopment, also considers this a symbolic change that reflects the power of the people in a democratic nation. The British built the old Secretariat on an elevation, with the government buildings located on Raisina Hill. But with the new plan to convert these buildings into a museum for the public and to relocate the Central Secretariat along Rajpath, the arrangement reflects the rule of the people in an independent India.
Presently, if you are lucky and if the Prime Minister is not in office, then you can walk up and gape at those buildings and see these big architectural instruments of intimidation and wonder what goes on inside. Now they will become museums that you can walk up to.
Patel's plan also moves the residency of the Vice President and the Prime Minister to a new location. Currently, the Prime Minister's residence is outside of Central Vista.